Hello everyone. So I am assuming you can hear me and see me both. And so this is our third session for PowerShell. As this month we are focusing on becoming better raised 104 or Azure admins, better Azure admins, and focus on preparing for AZ 104. And as many of you know, to be a good admin or in future to be a good DevOps engineer, you need to have decent knowledge in PowerShell or even shell scripting and others that are supported. But from a Microsoft point of view, PowerShell is very important, and so I'll hope everybody will make use of this opportunity and learn and grow together. And one thing to all of you who are seeing in Facebook through Facebook Live. So we are using Zoom, and Zoom currently does not have that functionality to pull the messages or pull the chat messages or comments that you put in Facebook. So we may not be able to see that and then reply back in real time. I'll still try to check it in between, but if you want to ask real time through the chat in the Zoom, or if you want to ask us to unlock yourself, and then you want to ask questions through using your voice, then you can definitely join the Zoom meeting. There is a lot of space for you in the Zoom also, and it is free also. So there is no point in waiting there for somebody to call in. Okay, so you can just go to ac.bt.help, and it is a forward URL that will take you to the registration page. Okay, that's it. All to you, Kiran, for your wonderful session.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I mean, can we start now?
Yes, we can start.
Okay. So hope you guys went through the reference page and I mean you have gone through the basics of PowerShell who are like very new to the PowerShell. I mean, yeah, I mean, as usual, like before we get started, just wanted to let me introduce myself again. I'm Kiran Patnaikuni and I'm working as a CloudOps engineering specialist. And my blog is kpatnaikuni.com. And I'm a moderator at PowerShell.org, and also I'm an ICYMI editor. So hope you guys are able to see my screen.
Yes, Kiran, we can see now.
Yeah, this is all about me. And without any further delay, let's jump into today's session. So yesterday the previous session, we had completed like what are all the basics of PowerShell and what commandlets are actually important for us to go through the PowerShell journey and all. So actually in the first session, because of the time constraint, I left one topic, which is Cloud Shell editor, the code editor. So as I mentioned, like it was a Monaco editor where in the Cloud Shell, you can open your editor and you can edit the script or you can create the script and you can save it and execute there itself. Okay, just to show you that like right now I'm in my home directory. And if you see there's nothing here where if I say a code, right? So I can enter into the code within the browser and in the browser, within the Cloud Shell itself, right? Suppose now if I wanted to open the current folder, right? So I can, looks like it's a bug. Like once you went off and come back again, you will see the prompt is, slightly, starting off the page again. So I think, I don't know why nobody has complained and why it is not rectified though. So yeah, to open the current, the folder code, dot. If you say so, it will open the files on the left side and the code editor will be on the right side. So now you can create any of your scripts like get az VM. Right, suppose, I mean, just for a sample, I just wanted to write get -azvm and wanted to save this and give a file name like get -my VMs or VM.ps1. All right, so now it's done. And what I will do is I'll close this editor. And if I see here, I can see that file here, like get -my VM. So now if I want to run that, get -my VM, right? And if you enter, it will pull the VMs inside my subscription, right? So this is the code editor we have inbuilt. And now I just created a file, but in your case, it's not only for PowerShell. You can open any of your scripts, like if you are deploying ARM templates, or if you are deploying Terraform files, or if you are doing it through Azure CLI or PowerShell scripts, anything. If you want to edit, you want to add some parameters, or you want to remove some lines, or whatever you want, or if all together you want to create a new file. But however, the experience may not be that great when compared with the with the Visual Studio Code in your local machine, but still you can do pretty much everything and you can execute in the Cloud Shell itself. All right, so this is the one that actually I missed on the first day session. So hope you guys are clear with this. So see, now this Cloud Shell is already pre-installed and pre-configured, and it is like, I mean, it is already authenticated. You don't need to do anything. But what if you wanted to do it in your local machine, right? So let me open my local editor, local console, a PowerShell console. As I told you, like I'm using the Windows terminal because the experience that I get with this is extremely good. But if you want, you can use direct PowerShell console here, right? So this is the way that you can use your PowerShell console, right? And even I told you the other day, we have the Windows PowerShell as well, right? So Windows PowerShell also there, okay? It did not go away yet. It is still there, and maybe a few of the new features that are introduced in the core and PowerShell 7 are not there, but still, but still you can use the Windows PowerShell, okay? And to install the PowerShell, to install the module, the Azure PowerShell module, you have to open your console with the elevated rights, right? Suppose now I opened my Windows terminal with the normal, with the user rights itself. So now what I will do is I'll close this and open with the elevator, open with the run as administrator. Right, so now it shows that it is the administrator mode now. Since I've already there, my module is already there, but just in case if you want to install, first of all, you can find out like which version of the module is available right now. To check that, you should use find-module, okay, AG. So if you do it, it will connect to the PowerShell gallery, right? The PowerShell gallery is PowerShellGallery.com, where all the PowerShell modules are available here in this place. Okay, and whatever the command that you are running from your local terminal, it will connect to the PowerShell gallery, which is PS Gallery repository, and will retrieve the module for you. Okay, when you say find module. So it finds a module and it shows that the version is 4.7.0. Okay, and you can ask like why I want to go with the latest version. I want to go with a 1 or 2 levels of lower versions. So for that, what you can do is you can add list all versions. Okay, now I mean hyphen all versions. So if you say so, it will list all the available modules, right? I mean available versions in the same module, right? So before 4.7, it was 4.6.1. Okay, see, the one thing you need to understand the versioning as well. So when you see the minor version is something like very minor changes. If you see any minor changes happen, that will be added in the last. But if there is any major changes, that will be added in the major version, right? So that you can you can literally, you can see that there will be some commandlets are added, or some process change might have been added, something like that. Okay, so if you want to install this one, you can install. Even if you want to install the very old version, you can install, because some of the scripts you might have written in the old version, and still you want to check them how it worked in the old version, that you can do it. See, if you see it in the real-time scenario, I mean in any organization, they don't directly go with the latest version. If suppose today if they released 4.8.0 and tomorrow our organization will not allow that 4.7, the 4.8.0. Okay, there's a lot of there will be a lot of teams, they work on this and they test the latest versions, and they implement them, and then they deploy that the latest version. It's not like as soon as the latest version is released, that will be deployed. So all the time organization, they maintain 1 or 2 levels of the lower version of the modules. So yeah, with that I can see that the latest is 4.7.0. And if I see in my local machine what version is there, that is get -module AG. AZ is a module name. Since I have not loaded, it is not showing. I have to use list available. So right now I have only 4.5.0 in my machine, right? And here I've already installed in my machine, so that is the reason it is showing. But I will open a new I'll open a Windows PowerShell where I did not install my AZ module. So to check, okay, it is not there, and list available also not there. So in this, this is a brand new machine. As far as the Azure PowerShell concern, even though we have that module is available for the PowerShell 7, right? The Windows PowerShell will not identify, will not recognize that module. You have to install it separately. Okay, all the modules are different from Windows PowerShell to PowerShell 7 or PowerShell Core, right? So here I want to install. So for that, there is a command called install module, okay, AZ. So if I run this for the first time, then it will ask me about that, like, do you want to install or not? Whereas if I use force, right, so it won't ask any questions. It will directly install it for me. Okay, install module AZ-force. So here I will run it. Okay, it will take a minute or so to install, because as I mentioned very beginning, as I mentioned in the first session, this AZ is not a direct module again. The AZ is a wrapper module where all the actual modules are wrapped together, and when we install this AZ module, it will install the actual modules. Okay, this is kind of a helper module. All right, so let it install. And now we will see here how to upgrade the module. See, now I have 4.5.0 and I want to upgrade the module. So here 2 ways are available how to upgrade how to update the module. That one, first command is upgrade module. Sorry, update module. Okay, update module and module name AZ. Okay, like this you can do, or you can simply use the same install command with force. Okay, if you don't use force, it will throw an error that there is an already existing, the module is available. And if you want to install if you want to install latest version of the module, you need to use with the -force. Okay, it will throw an error in that way. Okay, so here I will use update module -update module AZ. Right, so it will install the latest version of the module, AZ module. See, here it is installing all the modules like, as I think I already told you in the very beginning, there is no difference between, still AZ module still recognizes the Windows PowerShell as well as the PowerShell 7. I mean, it works with the both Windows PowerShell and PowerShell 7. So you don't really see any differences when you are executing the commandlets. But logic-wise, there could be some changes because in in PowerShell 7, there are a lot of logics are implemented where it will reduce your, the code, right? Yeah. So, the other thing I think I should mention this now, since it is actually it should be mentioned in the PowerShell classes, but the other thing is that whatever the repository that we are using, this is not this is not maintained by Microsoft all alone. Okay, everybody, even if I want to, if I have written a module of my own, I can upload to the PowerShell gallery and anybody can download it. Okay, there is no authenticity. Microsoft will not give any guarantee just in case if something happened. But even Microsoft itself, their own modules, they keep it here. Okay, so when you want to install any of the modules from the repository, you have to ensure the author, and you have to see that what module it is and what it is and all. Then only you need to install. You should not install each and every module. But usually in the organizations, you will not directly connect to the PowerShell gallery and download your the modules and all. There will be a local repository, something like this, like how I am connecting to the PowerShell gallery. Likewise, we can have our own gallery where we can name it, like suppose mygallery.xyzorg.com, something like that. You will have your own DNS name for that, and you will connect to that repository and pull the modules. But you can ask like how that repository will have these modules, right? So there will be teams where they will download it from there, where they have the internet, they test it and they ensure that there is no threat with that module. Then they will place it in their local repository. Okay, and that local repository will be added to your PowerShell, and the PowerShell will download it from your local repository. So that way it works in the real-time scenario. Okay, right. So here it is saying that you are installing the modules from untrusted repository. Since PS Gallery is not a trusted, but you can make it trusted, but it's completely on your own risk. If it is not a local repository, you cannot make it as a trusted repository. So this is the kind of one more check. Okay, it asks us like, okay, please ensure that there is no a threat for your computer, something like that. So to avoid, to clear this, I have to say Y or Y. If I use only one module, I can use Y. If I'm having two or three modules, I'm upgrading in the same line, so I have to use Y, so that it will not ask for every module. Here only one module, so I'll use yes. So it will install it for me. Right here, see, if you see here, the module is installed, and when I used force here, it did not ask anything to me. Now, if I see the module AZ, it is not loaded, so it is not listed. If I use get module -list available, -list available, Okay, it is actually installed. Import module. In the meantime, here it is installed. Get-module is the list available. Here you can see that latest module is installed. Okay, even in the Windows PowerShell, here actually in PowerShell 7 is installed with 4.7, which is it is showing here. Okay, in the PowerShell 7 module, and even in the Windows 7, even in the Windows PowerShell also it is installed. Okay, get-module AG. Yeah, see, it is installed. -list available. Not sure why it is not showing here. Ideally, it has to show the list available, but however, now it is loaded and it is showing in the loaded version of the modules. So with that, we have seen how to find a module, how to install a module, okay, how to upgrade the module. Right, so here we have seen that 4.7. See, upgrade means it is a side-by-side installation. Don't assume that if I install on top of 4.5, the 4.5 will go and 4.7 will be replaced. It's not like that. The 4.5 will also be there, and 4.7 will also be. In fact, the actual modules, if they both are identical, they use the same modules itself. But if there is any difference, then it will create a new version of the module, right? So 4.5 is there, 4.7 also there. Now here we'll see how to authenticate. Okay, now I've installed and I've loaded the module, and I want to see authentication module. So for that, I want to see get module and az.star. I think I already mentioned all actual modules of the Azure PowerShell will start with az dot. Right, so these are all the actual modules, and I want to see what commandlets are available in the az.accounts. So for that, get-command module az accounts. So here I can see all commandlets related to Azure account. So forget about the aliases, but actual command, if you see, there will be connect az account. Okay, for the same, we can use the login az account. Also, to see what are the accounts, what are the what is the authentication details and all to see, you can use the get az context. Since I have not logged in, I want to run this, what it will. So, okay, since I've already logged in and I installed, and it stores the credentials in my local machine. So for that, what I will do is I will log out. Log out az account. So it will remove all the authentications what are all stored in my local computer. So now it is removed. Again, if you run, just in case if any other account is there, that will also be logged out. Okay, since this is, this removed my existing login details. Now there is no context available in the current machine right now. Okay, now I want to log in. So this is how, when for the first time, if you find a module and if you install the module, and after the installation, when you load the module, like import module name, and then if you want to authenticate to your subscription, you have to use, okay, login az account, or you can also use the connect az account. Okay, both are same. Actually, connect az account is actual commandlet, and login az account is an alias for connect az account. Right, so now I will log in here. Don't know with Windows PowerShell, looks like there is something wrong. Okay, let it run here. I'll open a new window with the Windows, with the PowerShell 7 itself. Okay, so I'll log out here with my existing account, whatever, if at all there. Yeah, I logged out, and now I will log in the AZ account. Yeah, ideally it will ask like this to authenticate your device. Okay, you can ask like, what is this device and all. So the Microsoft treats everything as a device. Okay, you don't need to authenticate like it. It won't ask you to enter your username and password in the console itself. Okay, it will generate a code for you where you can log in into this device login page, right? And then you have to authenticate there with this code. Okay, so I'll show you that. So I'll open a new window here, and I'll copy this and paste here, and it will ask me to enter that code. Okay, right, since I've already logged in, I don't need to enter the credentials here. All right, so here in a moment after the authentication, you can see your credentials are stored here. So here I've got my credential, I've got my authentication, and the authentication, what level that you have authenticated here, that level of permissions that you will get it here in your console. Suppose I have, other than, actually this is my prod subscription, but I have other 4 subscriptions also there. So if I have the to what extent I have the access on the subscription, those subscriptions will be added to the current context. Okay, only thing is that you need to switch between the subscriptions. And also here, for the security reason, you need to understand that if it is not your machine or if it is not your dedicated machine, you should not log in like this. Okay, because anybody, if they can access to that machine, and if they open this console, they can simply run the commands against your subscription. Okay, so that will be a problematic thing if it is not your machine and not dedicated to you. So you need to ensure. So for that, you can use that. There is a command, there is a flag called one second. See, this is the advantage of PowerShell I was talking about on the second session, where you can list all the parameters also. So even you don't need to remember that parameter name. You can simply use the control tab, and it will list all the parameter names here. So here, scope. Okay, the scope you can use for current user or process. Okay, by default is a current user. That means whoever logged in, that user credentials will be stored persistently in the local machine. Okay, even if you shut down your machine and you completely powered off, and again you come back, the credentials will be stored and you can perfectly execute your commandlets. Whereas if you mention the process, only till you open this window, till that time you will have your credentials, you will have your valid credentials. Once you exit your session, your credentials will be gone. So just in case if you need to log in into somebody's machine or some temporary, if you want to log in for temporarily in some other machine, then you have to use this kind of login. Okay, login -az account scope and process, so that it will authenticate only for this process, right? Anyhow, it's my local machine and it's my own machine, so I don't need to do this, but just in case if you want to do it, you have to do it. And there is another thing is also there, disable -az or save one second, get command module accounts -verb disable context autosave. If you run this, even though if you use, after you running this disable AZ context autosave, after that, if you want to, if you run AZ, if you run login AZ account, it will not save any credentials. Okay, it will be by default considered as that process. Okay, as long as you are alive in that session, till then the access will be there. After that, the access will be gone. Like you have to authenticate if you want to use it again. Right, so this way you can disable the autosave option, but by default it is enabled. Right, so that you need to ensure when you are logging in. Also, there is one more option to log in. Log in with the service account. That I will share it here in my blog. Right, so this is the one that we did. It's there already there in my blog. I'll share it after the sessions with the module. With the with the video links and all. Right, so this is the modules, how to install and all. Even there is an offline module also. Offline installation is also available, where you can download the link from the GitHub page and you can download it and you can install it. And also the save module, like how we have the find module and how we have the install module, like that we have another commandlet called save module. So actually this will not install the module, this will just save it, and you can copy it to some other location. Suppose in your organization where you don't have the internet to connect, to download this module. So those places that you can save this module and place it in the appropriate folder on the target machine, and you can start use it. So that way also you can do it. So this is the offline installation, and the one that we did it is the online installation. Like you can directly connect to the repository and you can install from it. Right, and one thing that you need to understand is that when you install it offline, okay, next time when you want to update it, you cannot use the update module, okay, or for the first time if you install with the online installation, and second time if you want to update with the offline installation, it won't work. So how the installation happened for the first time, the upgradation should happen in the same way. Okay, if it is online, forever it will be online. If it is offline, forever it will be offline. The upgradation. Correct. And also I mentioned about how to import the module and how to connect the module and the scope of the module. Okay, and now this one I was talking about how to log in with the service principal. Anyhow, I'm not going to demo this one, but I'll just give you a little description about this service principal. So the service principals are mainly used to like if you want to automate something, like see now we have interactively authenticated to Azure subscriptions, right? So if we interactively working, then we can log in and we can do whatever we want. But suppose you deployed an application for your automation, right? Or you have something like webhooks, or suppose you integrate your Azure with the Slack, or integrate your Azure with your Teams application, or something like that. And if you want, something like a bot or something like, where you cannot authenticate for everybody, right? There are 100 users will be there, 100,000 users will be there, and everybody they use that application, and for all of them they cannot authenticate. So for that we can use the service principals, right? The service principals will be used we can grant the permissions to that service principal to what level. Suppose you don't want to do any changes, only to fetch the required information, then you just can simply give the reader permission to that service principal. Okay, but suppose if you want to do some changes, suppose I want to deploy a new VM, or I want to deploy a new resource, then you need to have a contributor role for that. So like that, what are the roles, applicable roles that you have to give? You have to give wisely for your application, and you can and only the other advantage is that, like, suppose if I log in, I have 5 subscriptions, and all 5 subscriptions are also authenticated. So it is like more privileges there are there. But whereas with the service principal, to which subscription, to what level I want to give, to that level I can grant the permissions, and I can pull the secret from any of the safe like Azure Key Vault or any other pass safe, and I can connect to the I can connect to the I can connect to the subscription with the service principal. So this is how you can create a service principal. Okay, and actually you need to, this is how you need to create with the reader role, and you will get an output, something like what is the tenant ID and what is the application ID. Application ID is it is something like a username, and the secret is a password. Okay, and this is how we can create a credentials in PowerShell. Okay, from the saved password. Okay, suppose you can save this password in any of the place, in the local file or in the Azure Key Vault or in your local pass. There you can fetch it and you can pass it to the PS credentials. So it will generate a PowerShell credentials, and that you can pass it to the Connect AZ account with the service principal and credentials. And also you need to give your tenant ID so that it can identify the tenant and use that credentials, and it will authenticate that session. Okay, and remaining we'll talk tomorrow. Now I'm open for your questions. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So if you want to ask question, you can either raise your hand in Zoom. So and then I can allow you to talk, or you can continue to chat. So whatever is convenient for you, you can follow. So I'm assuming most of you have practiced it over the weekend and yesterday. So if you have got any issues, errors, or doubts, you can ask now, either through chat, or if you raise hand, then I can allow you to talk, and then you can talk so that you don't have to type.
Yeah, and Hatin, actually I've seen a question in the Q&A box. Can I take that question?
Sure.
Yeah, the question is like, what is the difference this with Connect-Azure RM account? Yeah, that Connect-Azure RM account is the module from the Azure RM module. That is the old module, and that is going to deprecate by end of this year. Okay, so here this one I was talking about, the Azure RM module. This is the old module where the naming convention, if you see that, Connect-Azure RM account. Okay, so even now, if you have installed Azure RM module, you can use the Connect-Azure RM account to connect it, but that is going to deprecate by December 2020. So I suggest you to go with the latest module, that is AZ module, and use Connect-AZ account. I hope that question cleared.
Yeah, I hope. And so there is a question in Facebook, so which is from Ravi. So he's asking, need to know service principal significance instead of creating a user.
Yeah, that's what I told you, right? Like,
okay.
Here, oh no, here, the service principal is something like you don't need to authenticate, like, and also you can create the service principal to the extent of what that application permissions required. Suppose if I log in, you take my scenario and my example, I have 4-5 subscriptions are there. If I authenticate in any of the place, so all 5 subscriptions will be authenticated and I can run commands against all 5 subscriptions. Whereas it does not require actually. Suppose you have hosted one application. So to that application, it requires only 1 or 2 subscriptions to be managed. You can grant, and that too, you don't need to give any contributor role to that. Okay. And it does not require to be any AD roles also. Okay. You can give IIM roles to that. To what level you need. If you want to manage only one resource group, to that particular resource group, you can grant the roles and you can connect to. You can connect with that permissions, and all your work will be done without any hassle. And if you want to add something, you can dynamically add, and the application will start working accordingly. So that is the advantage of having the service principal.
Okay. Yeah, another one is, can you post Kiran's website in the chat? So yeah,
sure.
You can.
Actually, this the session thing I have not yet done, because I thought of what only it will be completed in 3 sessions. So that once after I completed, I thought of posting all of them. But looks like there will be 2 more sessions, or I'll see. I think probably no, it will take 2 sessions for sure. So I will complete them, and then I'll post it with the video reference as well.
Sure.
Till then, I'll share my website name, kpatnaikini.com. Where should I post it?
So you can post it here. I'll post it on Facebook.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I have shared it. So I think so people don't have much doubts today. So yeah, okay. So yeah, there is one question from Abhilash. So this is not related to current session. I was trying to get an Azure account using my debit card, but it says we do not accept debit or prepaid cards because they do not support monthly payments in your location. Yeah, so as per even my understanding, currently Azure does not take debit cards. You need a credit card to create an account. So yeah, some of my students also mentioned the same. So I'll see if there are any alternatives which will work, and then I'll share it in the group.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. So yeah, one quick question to everybody. So you are still there or you are sleeping? So if you are still there, you can say yeah, I in the chat, or if you are sleeping, you can say S in the chat. At least some response. Okay. Yeah. Good to know. Yeah, people are not sleeping, so they are actually listening. So they may not have. So I think yeah, Rinesh raised his hand, so I'll allow him to talk if he want. So practice it more, because there are many recipes in Kiran's website also. So practice, so then only you will get doubts. So these things so these kind of live sessions for PowerShell do not happen very often. So whenever it happens, make use of these opportunities, because video sessions, YouTube channels, and all those things you can see all the time, but you cannot get a live response from those. So take this as an opportunity to actually ask questions and get a live response, and then clarify your questions or clarify your doubts. Okay, yeah, Rinesh, if you want, you can ask.
Yeah, actually, before, hey, Rinesh, okay, yeah.
Okay, just want to ask you one question.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is the difference running PowerShell locally on a laptop and inside the Azure Cloud Shell?
Okay, if you ask me, I don't see any difference because both runs under the PowerShell engine itself. Only the difference is that if you run your thing in your Windows or in your Linux box in the local machine, that is your local box. Whereas if you run it on the Cloud Shell, it will run on it will run in a container. It's a Ubuntu container. So it's also Linux flagged. So again, the underlying the PowerShell engine will be the same. There is no difference between the execution of commandlets. Only the advantage of having in the Cloud Shell is that it is already authenticated. You don't need to authenticate. That is only the difference, but everything is same other than that.
And you also don't have to install anything.
Yes, that is the advantage.
You can access it from anywhere. As long as you have a browser, you can access it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the other one I thought of telling you is that whoever are there in today's session, I think I messed up my Windows PowerShell because it's my demo mission where I've done a couple of demos in this, so that could be the reason it did not. But I request some of you guys who are going to install it in the Windows PowerShell, and tomorrow let me know how it went through. Hopefully it should go fine. Maybe I missed my some of the profiles somewhere. Some mess up happened. That is the reason I think in my Windows PowerShell it is not happening. And tomorrow you guys, you please do it. And the experience, the process is same. There is no difference in the process. How I did it in the PowerShell 7, even in the Windows PowerShell also, it will be the same. There is no difference. Okay, maybe because of my profile, it was not going through, but it is same. And you try it and you let me know.
Okay, yeah. One quick question from Bonnie. So I am not from administrator background. What is the difference between Terraform and PowerShell?
Okay, so Terraform is something like it's a declarative syntax. It ensures that your deployment is always there. If it is not there, it will deploy. If it is there, it will not do anything. Okay, it's like, it's kind of idempotent. Whereas PowerShell, you need to define, it's actually, it is like you don't use it for deployments mainly. Okay, it doesn't mean that we should not use it. We can use it for the deployments and all. But PowerShell, the main use of the PowerShell is to automate the process. Okay, task automation or process automation, or any integration with any of the applications. So for those kind of things that we use the PowerShell, right? And if you want to configure something, suppose now you have your storage account is there, and you want to do some changes to your storage account, or you have your VM is there, and you wanted to configure some VM, like you want to change like backup strategy, or you want to change the size of the VM and all. Instead of you are doing it through Terraform, because if you want to do it that with the Terraform, you might have that already written, tested, and then you can use that script in your production. Whereas here with the PowerShell, it is just a matter of a single commandlet. Okay, you get a VM, pipe that to a new size, and then you execute. Use that to another set as a VM. Then it will do it for you. It's like everything will be in the single line. Okay, single liner, and you don't need to test it and all. It is already tested script in PowerShell. right? Whereas in Terraform or ARM templates and all, they are really useful for bulk deployments and like if it is if I mean if you want to maintain the standard of the deployments and all, then you can use the Terraform or ARM templates. Or there is one more thing called Pulumi is also there. It is also a similar kind of ISC tool. Right, so these are the differences. I hope that is clear.
Okay, yeah. So Bonnie's question, like, so when working with Azure, we need to use both, or we can use PowerShell instead of Terraform?
No, two are two different aspects. We cannot compare actually. Suppose you want to you have to deploy some resources like some 10 VMs. 10 application servers and 20 database servers, something like that. If you have, and you need to ensure that wherever you want, suppose you want to maintain the same thing in your your development environment, and you want to deploy the same thing in your production and also stays and everything, you want to install, where the ISC tools are very important. That which ISC tool that you use, that depends on the organization. Some they use ARM templates, and some they use Terraform. See, Terraform is mainly used for where they use the multiple cloud technologies. It's not, if you are using Azure with the AWS or Google, in those scenarios they mainly go with the Terraform, because the ease and like the compatibility or ease that comes with the Terraform is too good. Whereas PowerShell is mainly for automation, like automation, and even you can do the deployment and all, but mainly used for the automation and configuration, process completion. It will be for that for that use we will use PowerShell.
Okay, yeah, I think Bonnie said he understood. Thank you for that. So yeah, so effectively these are two different things. So Terraform comes under infrastructure as a code. So so different. So Terraform can be used with AWS or Azure. So Azure has ARM and AWS has something called as CloudFormation. So you can either use the provider specific technology, or you can use a generic one such as a Terraform. Whereas Terraform has little more flexibility and functionality compared to some of these. And also it all boils down to, if we have good Terraform developers, they might prefer to build on that. But so PowerShell is something similar to our CLI itself, but which has lots of additional commandlets that are provided out of the box by Microsoft, so that you don't have to write them and figure out how to do those things. So as long as you know those things, you can execute it in one line and then get your work done. Right, Kiran?
Yeah. Actually, the more flexibility will come. Like if you want to, you take any organization, you write a PowerShell script, and if you want to run it even on your production also, with your first of all, anyhow the testing will be done, but there will be separate commandlets and separate scripts will be there, you can run it. Whereas if you want to do the same thing with the ARM templates or Terraform, there is a lot of process. You have to change it, even a single comma if you change in the script, you have to first test that in your testing environment, then staging, and then it has to go to the prod, then only you can do it in your then only you can use it. So but with PowerShell it's not required. It's the commandlets are already tested. The only thing is you want to do it or not. It's like more flexible than ISC tools.
Yeah, if you know about this thing called 12-factor app, so this comes under something called as admin processes inside that. So
yeah.
So any other questions from anybody? Okay. Okay, I think that question is asked. Okay, so in Okay, so no other questions. Will learning Azure? Okay, so general Azure questions like will learning Azure fetch me a good career? So learning alone, so learning thoroughly will help you. So it also depends on what is your current exposure. So this is from Arun through Facebook. So it depends on what you do currently and what all things you also know. So your opportunities will vary. So one good thing is create a profile in LinkedIn, go there, search for similar jobs, and so try to match it with your experience, and then groom yourself towards what is required in the market. Okay, so this is a very vague answer, but you can contact us over Facebook or LinkedIn, and then let us know more about what you do currently, so that we can also suggest how you can groom yourself into a better job role. Okay, yeah, Arun is telling he's a beginner, so it again it depends. So your first stop or first start should be with these things in LinkedIn. But again, so one mistake I have seen, at least I interview a lot. So one mistake I have seen is people jump into cloud without actually knowing much of the theory behind the cloud, or to be more specific, the computer science basics behind the cloud. Okay, so that is something you should definitely know, because for a beginner, you may not be expected to know deep into Azure cloud or AWS or any cloud for that matter, but your core strength or core knowledge will be always tested, especially if you come from a computer science background. So you should have a very good understanding of the theory behind how cloud work. For example, the simple things will be distributed computing and how networks work. So based on your interest within Azure cloud itself, those things you should revise and have a good hold on. So that will definitely help you in your interviews and job search. Okay, so any other questions from anybody? So if no questions are there, we'll wind up. So yeah, Rinesh has mentioned, thank you, Kiran, for excellent session.
Yeah, thank you, Rinesh and everybody.
Okay, so yeah, so today we did it exactly in 1 hour. We started 5 minutes late, so we ended 5 minutes late. Okay, so it was
and thank you, Hartin. Actually, your suggestion is really, helped me, because in my previous sessions I've given a couple of times. So they're like, somehow either I'm extending, or somehow either I stopped, before itself. So, but now since I'm planning every day what topics that I need to cover, exactly I'm planning for that, and I think I'm able to complete within the time and able to take the questions.
Yeah, so that is a very good thing. So we are all learning together and then growing together. And one more happy news to all of you. So our group has touched 35K members today. So that is also a good news. So in the last few weeks, we have been seeing a lot of people coming, especially for learning. And if you have come here for learning, so this is one of the best groups out there which has regular live sessions, and I will make sure that so industry experts like Kiran will come here and talk, and if nobody is there, I will also talk. Okay, so I'll continue to talk, but I want more people from you also to come forward. So don't worry that you have not spoken before or taken session, or you don't have that knowledge. The only thing you need is the interest to teach, and everything else I'll provide. I'll help. Okay, so if you are interested in teaching, I'll provide materials. I'll help you. I'll train you, and then you can come here and speak. Okay, but I'll not push anybody more than that. The interest should come from within you. I can only help or start helping after that. Okay, so Yeah, that's it from my side. Kiran, you want to add anything?
Oh, that's it. The learning is always, learning every day, at least a half an hour or 1 hour you learn. That's more than enough. And I'm like, after seeing you, I really, impressed, like probably, because I've gone through, I usually don't go to the Facebook. Only now I'm coming only because of this group. And I'm going through all the updates, and now I'm seeing more, questions and more, there are a lot of people are sharing the knowledge. Earlier, I only used to follow the Twitter and LinkedIn, but now Facebook can also be used like this. I just realized, and you are awesome, man. Seriously, you're good.
Thank you, Kiran. So let us all meet tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. IST, which is 7:30 a.m. PST, and we will continue our journey learning Azure and specifically PowerShell. Okay, so bye bye for now, and see you all 8 p.m. IST or 7:30 a.m. PST tomorrow. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you.